Josh Roan, intern coordinator here at Nourish the Planet, and this is Christina Apaf, and she has been an intern with us for about 20 weeks now, fulfilling 200 hours of sustainable internship. Go ahead and give us a brief background on how you got here in your education.
Well, I am a biology student at Metro, taking a break to kind of get some other learning experiences. And to me, it was a time in my life I wanted to be working, but also wanted to keep myself immersed in science and sustainability. So I just popped on Craigslist and for once found an internship opportunity that looked really thorough, and it was just listed all the different activities that were included in this internship. It wasn't vague. It was like agriculture and sustainability internship, or sustainable agriculture, and I looked at what it involved, and it said a little bit of data entry, seed propagation, maintenance of new aquaponics systems. I didn't even know what aquaponics really was, but as I read on, it went into kind of credentials, and it was like, the thing that caught me, I guess, was like having a passion for the environment. And it said, you know, if you are interested in pursuing a biology degree or a wildlife and fisheries degree or something that was related. And so I was like, this is right up my alley, and it's free for me, and I can keep myself in the studies I want to be studying. And so I looked into it kind of thinking, well, my resume on being in the restaurant industry isn't really going to prove much. So I just kind of wrote a strong cover letter saying like I am passionate about it. And that was it. It was about an hour north of where I live, but to me it was more interesting to have that opportunity than to worry about how I was going to get there and exactly like at what cost. I just wanted to kind of dive in. So
What are some projects you worked on during your internship?
in the beginning, we got right into planting. I was part of the, I guess, a cycle of planting where I kind of, as soon as I got here, we were transplanting basil plants that we had growing from tiny seeds in a rock wool mesh that, once they're mature enough, can be transplanted into the aquaponics system, where the nutrient-rich water is going to be flushing through it and taking care of them from that point on. So right away I was sitting with a group of people kind of talking about our interests and working right away with dirt and soil and outside. It was summertime, beautiful thing to go from the city and come up here and kind of just start playing with dirt a little bit when I was so stuck inside and like a workaholic and either that or in the classroom. So right away I got really excited about that because I got home and kind of felt like I'd been at a farm all day, or just that outside feeling like when you're a little kid where you get to just get a little dirty. And the first project was planning that system, and then from there we got into more seeding and actually building the systems. And I got to meet Dustin, who was the engineer. Kind of pretty much seems like he could put any piece you can find at Home Depot together, and kind of saw his ingenious way of looking at like lowering costs where you're manufacturing everything yourself by hand. It's time consuming, but the know-how of how to do that was impressive to me, because when I go down an aisle at Home Depot, I just look at gauges and pipes and wonder like who can possibly do anything with this stuff. And he's completely put together like and masterminded a project where all of the pipes run clearly, and the system is also using siphons and other more sustainable methods than electricity to get the water pumping through it really efficiently. So I started learning a little bit about that, and at that time he had some other help in construction, and they gave me a power drill a couple of days to kind of get my hands in on some construction work. And it was just nice to every day have like a different project, where it was like I'd come in and like today it's like, Christina, you're gonna be working on the drill press. And then the next day it was like, okay, you know, we have to do a little bit of cleaning, but after that, like the fun stuff, we're gonna be planting and like, you know, we're doing something with the fish and like taking some notes on how their responses are to like different feed and water quality measurements. And it was just a way to like hour by hour kind of just be doing something different, not so monotonous.
Yeah. Do you feel that you had all the resources you needed to complete these projects?
Yeah, I definitely Although the warehouse is really big and sometimes it was hard to find them, I felt like everything was there, and if I ever had a question, I needed anything, somebody was there to help me find it.
What are some additional things that you would like to have seen while you were here?
I think that when I started seeing the hydroponic systems, and I guess like the hydrology aspect was a little vague to me, and being something I wanted to learn, my supervisor is a biologist, and I really wanted to know a little bit more about some of the construction part of it, and just to know exactly like how you really like put together a project like this. Do you draw it out first? I mean, did Dustin do a bunch of research? Did he learn this since he was little, or is this something that he decided to tackle with like a handbook, or does he have some books that he can kind of point out where he got his ideas from? And to just kind of know like the birth of an idea is interesting to me. So I would have liked to see maybe like some of like Dustin and Sean's like favorite materials, where they like what got them into it, so that you can kind of see how it all came about, because otherwise it just looks like bigger than life, where you're just like, I can never do this. But if you hear their story, you're kind of like, wow, that's all it took for them, you know, is one manual in about a, you know, hydraulic pump or something, and then you're set and on your way to like imagining what else to do from there.
Do you feel your internship was a valuable learning opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. I felt that everything I was trying to pursue in Denver, going to school, was kind of just beating around the bush of getting a hands-on experience where I was learning and being really involved. It wasn't an internship where I'm sitting there kind of crunching numbers or reading reviews of people that are having experiences. I was having the experiences and able to interact with every part of the system, tamper with it, ask about it, touch it, help build it. And that was definitely rewarding, to be trusted with some of those hand tools and just be thrown into a process where what I built that day matters for the whole system. And, you know, I don't have someone saying like, you know, you don't qualify to do this. They just kind of gave me a power tool and told me I was important enough to take part in it.
How do you think your internship will help you move into a career?
I think that with a resume filled with customer service experience and that's it, and then just a very small blurb of aspiring biology degree, it's going to stand out big time of putting in hours unpaid and willingly that have taught me not just one thing but several things about plants, fish, and engineering of a complex system. And it's really going to stand out to any employer, whether it's in a science field or in any other job I pursue, that I'm more diverse than meets the eye, where before that my resume was really hard to work with.
Describe the relationship with your supervisor.
My supervisor was really enjoyable to work with because he was very laid back. I didn't feel as though I was being watched over. I didn't think that, you know, I was working with someone that was like completely on another level. He was really easy to talk to. I'd always had a ton of questions, and having like the knowledge base he always had a full answer and could go on in depth when I wanted to really explore a subject, almost like a professor could do for you, where you really want to know about something but maybe you don't have time to ask, or you know that person doesn't have time to answer it. He was really thorough, and that inspired me a lot because I don't get to network a lot with biologists unless I'm at school. So it was definitely nice to kind of have almost questions ready, or news topics, or hear his opinion on things was like refreshing and definitely a good mentor for me.
Was your supervisor easily accessible?
Yeah, he was always around, almost always helping us either start our projects or overseeing the whole thing. And that way we could ask questions along the way, even if they were silly or whatnot, get things cleared up right away, where sometimes when you're left with a project for hours, you could be doing it wrong for quite a while before you realize like an easier way. And to avoid those kind of frustrations, he was always kind of like part of the project. If he wasn't just sitting there with us doing it, he definitely gave us very clear instructions and was there for any questions.
How knowledgeable do you feel your supervisor was?
he was very knowledgeable on the aquaponics systems themselves. I think that his understanding of the bacterial and other organic chemical levels in the systems was crucial to them working properly in the first place. As a biologist, I think you kind of build an intuition of like what a balanced ecosystem is and what isn't, and where other people would have to, you know, test the water repeatedly to get to a certain conclusion. He kind of knew how to fix little bumps in the road right away, and it was clear that this is something that he was passionate about and really knowledgeable about. Not as much the construction, but the fact that we had kind of the duo of Dustin, who is an engineer, and then Sean being the biologist. It was like neither one of them both knew each other's trades, but together it was like a whole education for me, where I knew somebody specialized in one thing, somebody specialized in another thing, and I could trust their answer immediately.
How organized do you think your supervisor was?
I think everything overall was really well organized. From the start when I got here, I think that certain parts of the internship program definitely evolved, where it's just a lot of different types of work. So it's like everything is just as important. We need to get the data entered. We need to get this trays seeded. We need to get the basil and the wheatgrass harvested, and like it was kind of hard sometimes to figure out which one was most important because it's all important. But we were able to, after I got a kind of grasp on all my tasks, kind of put them in an order where it was a nice routine every day, and everything was successfully finished without too much work. And he printed a nice just warehouse task sheet. So if you ever kind of lost track of exactly what needed to get done, you always had something to rely on, and that was the best way to stay organized.
Explain your relationship with other staff here at Nourish the Planet.
I think everybody was drawn here for the same reasons, kind of just like that gut instinct of like, I want to do something for the planet, but I don't necessarily, I want to be part of building something like an innovative project where I'm learning in return. And I felt like everybody I met was like that, and very energetic and very impressed with the systems and the innovation. And that made it fun to kind of just spread our ideas and do our own little intern networking, where it was kind of like, you know, right away we all had common ground. So it was really easy to start talking about what each other was studying, or what they wanted to do with it, or what bumps and barriers they've run into pursuing what they wanted. And it was definitely a nice place to network and chat. And overall, I met a lot of passionate people that were really cool.
Do you feel that your internship coordinator was a good resource throughout your internship?
Yes, of course. I felt like every time I felt disorganized, or maybe like I couldn't really meet the standards as I was commuting, and I had some really late days and was starting to feel as though maybe, you know, things weren't going so well for me, and maybe I was more of a nuisance coming in at hours that I couldn't be on time for. And he made me feel a lot better and reassured me, and of like just where I kind of sat in the spectrum of things, and was kind of more of someone I could confide in if I did have issues, since it is a big warehouse and there are a lot of professionals here, and he was somebody I could rely on to just kind of like say how I felt and what I needed out of that day.
Now that you have completed your internship and knowing everything that you know, would you choose to do it again?
I would do it again, but I would definitely want to be a different part of the evolution. I don't think I would want to still be doing the seed propagation and production. I think I would rather learn something new. I think that I would like to teach somebody, maybe pass on what I've learned, but definitely to me, I'd like to really see the use of these systems when they're in full production, maybe on like a more commercial level. Like, what would it be like if we put one behind a restaurant, or how, if I wanted to build a mini one in my own backyard, like how would I go about that? And I would kind of want to learn that knowledge base. So I guess I'd like to really work more closely with the building and construction of one, so that those basically like plumbing issues that you run into are learned hands-on, whereas I would never be able to get through some of those trial and error processes without a more in-depth building experience.
What was your favorite part of the internship program?
I think that just opening up my mindset and being with like-minded people that were all definitely had their gears turning about sustainability was my favorite part. I felt a lot of times in school, people were all studying biology for different reasons. Some people were in pharmaceuticals, some people were, going on to like different medical fields, and I really wanted to be surrounded by people that wanted to care about ecology and really centered on land use and water and agriculture in general, and some of the huge problems we're facing as a world environmentally. And those are the things I wanted to really get off my chest, and this was a place that I knew everybody here was conscious of, and that was kind of a relief. Whereas I'm not, instead of being the one ranting and explaining these things to people, I could be the one asking more questions from a knowledge base that already understands the environmental state of the world.
What was your least favorite part of the internship program?
I think that sometimes it got a little hard to keep entertained if there wasn't enough help here at a given hour. A lot of days that I worked with like 2 or 3 interns were a lot more fun than when I was working by myself. It's just a lot of work. I mean, to get these systems running, it's not a one-person job. So I think it got a little monotonous, and it was hard to kind of push through the day without some music, or I don't know. Definitely there's a need for a little more interaction and a little more thought-provoking. I guess we just need a kind of a more of a team every day, and it's just beginning to form that way. I think this is the way I see it. When I started here, I was all by myself, and then I started seeing a lot more people coming in and realized the difference of how much fun it could be when you have a team that's all like lighthearted and in it for the same thing.
We kind of asked this question throughout your interview, but is there anything else that you think we should change for the next intern in your position?
I just think that it's important, if anybody's coming from a science background, to make sure everything's really precise, because anybody who's studied science and has been in labs has been kind of whipped into making sure that all measurements are really on the dot. And that's the one thing I might like to see more in general. Maybe it doesn't matter to weigh things out so precisely here at the time, because we're looking more at an overall trend in growth. But just to practice some of those skills is important, especially with data entry, where we're really making sure that our measurements are precise. Otherwise, it makes the monotony of entering a ton of data into a system a kind of not as useful. And I definitely think that we can draw more conclusions from it that way too. We're just starting to kind of get all of the data from growth and mold and different issues with the plants on a scale where we can take a look at it and say like, well, hey, what was going on this month? What was going on here? But if we don't have very precise data, then it just is a lot of information that you can't do anything with. And I think that it's good practice for young scientists to be able to do that. So everybody has to be on the same page with making their records really clear.
Well, that concludes the interview, but before we end, what do you think you could do to make this planet better?
I think that these experiences where I'm learning based on like networking in with a group of individuals is the best thing that anybody can do. So the knowledge I got from my mentors and educators here, I would like to pass on. And just seeing how an internship program works, the kind of relationship where you have someone providing a free service, but at the same time you're giving back to them a ton of knowledge and excitement about a new innovation. I think aquaponics is only like I guess it's ancient and relatively, but recently it's been very new to like a widespread food production idea. So it's a very new technology, you could almost call it, for growing food, and it's exciting. And to have the knowledge base to spread to people about it is the best tool, because if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you just read one little article and you want to try to explain it to somebody, it's a lot more difficult than if you can tell them about a whole experience. And sometimes it takes a whole experience to really learn about something new like that. Otherwise it's just like a little blip in your memory of, I think there's something going on where people are changing the world, but I don't really know what it's all about. And now it's like I kind of have more of a story to tell about it, so people are like, want to get into it, I can even refer them here. Like if someone says, it's exactly what I want to do, this could be their first step.
Well, we were delighted to have you as part of our family here at Nourish the Planet, and we hope that you stay in touch. Let us know where life leads you.
I will.